30 minutes after the hour or before the hour, depending on your point of view. We're Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. We stream at millerandmoulton.com. We broadcast live on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. Subscribe. You'll be glad you did. He joins us Wednesdays at this time. He's Seth Everett. He of the two great podcasts, Sports with Friends and Hall of Justice. And you can follow him on Twitter at Seth_Everett. How are you this morning?
I'm good. You made me laugh when you said before, 30 minutes before, 30 minutes after, depending on your point of view. I used to say when I would do national shows, it's 8:30 on the East Coast, 5:30 on the West Coast, and if you're somewhere in between, it's sometime in between.
Works out well. I always like the Nova Scotia. I always like when they give the PE the half hour there. I always love the old SNLs and on at 6 p.m. in Newfoundland. Seth, our poll. I'm going to start with our poll question today because it's a baseball question, and that's kind of your thing, or at least one of them.
Heard of it.
If it's not the Jets, it's baseball.
It's not the Jets.
We're going to 8 teams. Do you think that Major League Baseball should stick with this plan going forward for the postseason?
Oh, hard no. Oh my God. Can I vote twice?
Why?
Sure. It's Chicago. Go.
I was going to say it's in North Carolina. You can't. What this has done is it's demeaned the value of the division winner in a big way, because the division winner is only getting an extra a home series, but they have to play 3 games against a team that could be playing much better. I would say if you look at the matchups right now, there are all the favorites could easily be beaten. And therefore, you are on September 23rd, and I have no idea who a favorite to be for the World Series. I think it compromises everything. I think it's stupid. I think it's changed the way the World Series is done because Fox still wants this to be over. And I think that it's dumb. If you're saying you did it because the networks offered $50 million to offset some of the losses for this bizarre hodgepodge season, then I'm fine with it. That's this season, but it's stupid, and it gets stupider every time I see these scenarios. And I did a gambling segment where I was talking to somebody, and I said, "Do you have any odds on the World Series? Any futures odds on the World Series?" They said, "You can't, because no one's going past the 3-game series," and that's just dumb.
All right. If they kept the current format, with the exception of they turned the first round series into a best of 5, in which it's less of a crap.
Then are you shortening the regular season? And on top of that, you're going to continue with the World Series into November? And if you do that, then you get my doomsday scenario, which is I want the Cleveland Indians to face off against the Colorado Rockies and a blizzard to wipe out both cities.
It has just turned into Miller and Everett. If you're watching Twitch, David had some Wi-Fi issues and just disappeared. So if you wonder why you don't hear from David for the next few seconds, well, that's because he's not there. And we'll get him back as soon as humanly possible. But I can switch the graphics so it looks a little better for now.
Even better. Look at that.
All right.
Wow, you just pushed him out the door the second he had a problem.
What am I supposed to
give him a chance?
I've still got to conduct the interview. See, if he was here, I could do all the work, but you still need 2 hosts in those scenarios. All right, I get that you don't want the expanded playoffs. Where do you go? Do you go back to the 4-place-5? Because the one thing I don't like if they try to do some hodgepodge to 6, Seth, is we can't be taking a week off for the number 1 seed. That's worse than a 2 or 3 series, right?
We've talked about that for years. The issue with baseball teams, they love a day off. They'll take 2 days off. Nobody in baseball wants 3. They don't want 3 days off. It takes you off your rhythm. There are starting pitchers that will then go 10 days without having thrown. There's no logic for it. There's no argument for it. And the playoffs, I like the 1 game. I have no problem with that. I've been a supporter of the 1 game. Anybody who says they hate the 1 game, win more, and you don't play in it. It's fine. It's a brilliant system. And I think the playoffs are as long as they can be. I don't want to expand the division series. And the main reason is you want the World Series to end in October. And I think that's a big part of this. Weather has to be a factor when you talk about these things. Now, they're going to isolation, and that's why they're changing everything. And it's completely dumb that they are going to Dodger Stadium when there's wildfires going on. But it just goes to show you how out of touch the decision makers with baseball are. And then they're changing their World Series. They're taking the day off between 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. And the reason they're doing it, and no one has disproved my theory, and I've asked a lot of people in the league, the union, writers, broadcasters, it's because Fox told them, we've got our scripted programming in November. Get out, get done. And so you're compromising your competition for $50 million for a network, and then because Fox is telling you to.
But they didn't make any programming. There's no fall programming because they didn't make any fall shows. And I was literally just reading an article last night on Kim Cattrall, the Sex and the City. She's doing a show on Fox. The reason it was supposed to come out in the spring, well, it didn't. They're putting out in the fall because they finished all the production by January. I mean, there are no new shows out there.
Sitting there, yeah. I mean, CW is going to run the Swamp Thing, which is a show that's been canceled for 2 years. I get it. I understand. CBS is running Star Trek. I mean, I understand that argument, but Fox has said so. I think it has to do with their football commitments. They want Saturday night games. Now that they know that the Big Ten's coming and the SEC's coming, and I think that's what it has to do with. My point is that you can't ask for everything. You went to a bubble to be in warm weather climates, then stretch out your World Series. And stretch out your World Series by not having no off day between games 2 and 3 because you're changing the way teams build their rotations. The postseason this year is as much of a crapshoot. It could be fun. And one other tone-deaf thing that Major League Baseball is doing, they're putting neutral sites, and they're saying they're doing it for safety purposes. But fans can come. And not fans of the hometown Texas Rangers. They want people to get on airplanes and travel to go see your stupid teams.
Well, I will say this standpoint, and look, I don't know if we ever get to a day for a neutral site World Series. It's against everything that is baseball, but we have to kind of throw out old rules. We really do. Because look, this expanded playoff does one thing, Seth, and we all know what it is. It increases the revenue possibilities for the sport because
$50 million split evenly between the players and owners.
Baseball has become a 100% regionalized sport. No one watches the national game of the week during the regular season. What we do watch are games with consequence. And as much as you don't like this, Seth, 1 versus 8 gives us more games of consequence and puts a bigger pool in the playoff purse for baseball down the road. So with that, even though you don't like it, what do you think the likelihood of baseball going to 8 is?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so because general managers hate it. They're literally doing this because they know that they want to stop the bleeding. Remember, the owner rhetoric going into a collective bargaining situation, the owner rhetoric is that they are broke. That's the rhetoric. Again, open up the books from 2019 to 18, 17, 16, 15, how far you want to go back. They have more money than they know what to do with.
And it's never enough, and you know that.
But they're claiming poverty, and they're saying this was a hodgepodge way to offset the losses by having no fans in the stands and only playing 60 games. Okay, that's a compromise. So notice, I'm not saying that this thing is bad for this year. I'm fine with it. I'm embracing 2020, but by no means is this a permanent solution. No chance. I think that none of these rules, the only one that I'm hearing a campaign for, and I couldn't believe this, is the 7-inning doubleheaders. They love the 7-inning doubleheaders.
Okay, that's fine. Doubleheaders are makeup games anyhow now. We don't do doubleheaders anymore.
You count the same in the standings, and you don't have 2 extra innings.
We're not showing up at Milwaukee County Stadium at a 5:30 on a Tuesday to watch a twilight doubleheader. They don't. The doubleheader used to be something for the fan to go get 2 games.
Right.
Now it's a day-night doubleheader. The old school doubleheader doesn't exist. So why are we doing this for such
in the no fan hodgepodge thing?
Right,
and they say it's for safety, and that's the funny thing is they use safety whenever it's convenient. They say, why are we going to Texas? Because it's safety. Why are you going to LA? There's wildfires there. Safety? Okay. And then why are you changing your playoff format? Safety. And everything is supposed to be for safety, and it's hilarious. And I don't know. I laugh. My funny thing is, I am, extolled on this show and other shows that I go on whenever I say wear a mask and be safe, and I'm not supporting college football and blah blah blah. And I'm a left wing socialist suddenly. That's what I've become.
Particularly down here, Seth. You have to know you're wrong.
Right.
As I
Right.
tell
Well,
everybody,
Sunday, but
not
Sunday, you'll love it.
we're Cribson.
Sunday, I drove by the Meadowlands and I didn't go to the game. I'm going next Thursday, but I didn't go to the Jets 49ers game. But I drove by there and then I saw this vast building. And given New Jersey's numbers, statistics, there is no reason not to put between 5 and 10,000 people in MetLife Stadium. MetLife Stadium can handle it. Now, you want to argue Dallas? Dallas makes no sense. Kansas City makes no sense, but MetLife Stadium, they could have 10,000 fans. So I tweet and I said, I actually understand the argument how you could put 10,000 people in safely, and I think it would change the atmosphere because the atmosphere on Sunday was bleak, and I am now a right-wing conservative.
Hey, and David did the New Orleans game week 1. He did the Thursday night game in Cleveland week 2, and he said the difference in atmosphere between the 5 to 10,000 in Cleveland and the empty Superdome was unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
In his opinion of just that. So I'm with you there. To the Jets, and particularly to the field, anything from the Jet side? I mean, we all know Shanahan has lost his proverbial mind off of most of his team getting hurt.
He also lost his mask, and he's $250,000 poorer for it.
Well, he's 100,000. The team's 250. I mean, they threw the hammer down at both coaches for Monday night too.
They threw the hammer. That's quite a hammer.
You're darn right it is.
The argument for the Meadowlands, and I would say this, and we reached out to people from the Jets. They have no comment. But if you're telling me that this situation could not have been tested during the COVID time, the quarantine, when there were literally nothing going on in sports, and you couldn't have gotten a bunch of kids out there or players or whatever, tell Sam Darnold he can go to MetLife Stadium and test out the turf. They put this new turf in, and no one tested it. And it's bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. I feel bad that the Niners have to play the Meadowlands again. They have to do it again. And all I'm asking is, did anybody test it? Because if the players are saying it's sticky, that's the word that they used. Again, how did you not test it during the break?
Well, I thought both teams scrimmaged there. I thought both teams. I know the Giants did.
The Jets did too.
So
the Jets did once. They were supposed to do it twice, but they couldn't because they didn't have any wide receivers.
Now, someone yesterday in our Twitch chat room did wonder the fact the Giants played a night game versus the Jets played an early afternoon game. So, who knows? Sun, a hotter. They wondered, could that make a difference? I wondered, Seth, if the Niners just had shoes that maybe, were a little bit more grippy than the shoes the Jets had. And because you didn't hear a Giant or a Steeler complain about this at all.
By week 5, that'll be the Jets commercial. New York Jets football. We have great shoes.
Well, they're not going to have much else. They lose that Thursday nighter. All right, on October 1st.
Are you going to be there? Because I'm trying to go.
Yes.
That's the one I'm trying to go to.
Yeah. If they lose at home to Jeff Driscoll and the Denver Broncos, I know they don't fire coaches early in seasons. They don't even fire coaches oftentimes midway through a season. But if they've got a donut and they lose at home on national television to Jeff Driscoll and the Broncos, it could be over.
Then it's Greg Williams. And Greg Williams for an interim, and it's a chalk up waste of a year. It's fine. I just don't get NFL firings mid-season. They don't accomplish anything.
Well, the problem is Gase isn't accomplishing anything anyhow.
Oh, he's a joke. The question is, how do they hire him? Not when do they fire him?
Well, the guy doing the firing is not the guy who did the hiring. That's another thing. At some point, we're going to find out when Joe Douglas fully has control of this organization. It's when he's able to fire Adam Gase.
Did you guys see the story about the NBA and Adam Silver and how they're talking about a baseball type schedule to cut down on travel because the quality of play has been so good that they're talking about having teams travel in a baseball like format? So like the San Antonio Spurs will go up to Denver for 2 games That's a neat idea. It's a neat idea, and they're saying that load management is not the missing of the games; it's the travel.
It's
And
a minor league sports philosophy. I mean, minor
Yeah.
league hockey's done this for years. We can't afford to go back
I
and
agree.
forth. So we
AHL,
go
yeah.
up whatever, and we play 2 games, and then you come to us and play 2 games. I don't think it's the worst idea I've ever heard. I will say,
I just saw it, and it's fascinating.
Trying to play in January. Bettman's like, anybody that tells us when we're playing next year, you have no clue what you're talking about, because we don't know when we're playing next year.
They don't know, and they
play without fans or with limited fans. Hockey without at least 75% of a gate, and if you're at 75, you're going to get it all. I don't know how hockey functions without a gate.
I don't know, and they're very concerned. That bubble is super expensive. They're pulling it off, and kudos to them. It's been great. The playoffs have been great. Kudos to the NHL. But as far as next year, I don't think they don't have an idea. You know what they do have that baseball doesn't have? Labor peace. It's a big difference. Big difference.
That is true. That is true. But baseball's played outdoors. I really think you're going to have 100% attendance for the beginning of the baseball season next year. Now, whether or not people will want to go is another thing. But I really think that baseball is going to luck out, if you will, that they're just going to open their gates in April and say, hey, we're open for business.
So much is going to change between now and April.
Yep.
That we're going to live in a different world again. So who knows? Who knows?
Miller and Moulton. Seth,
yes,
thanks for joining us.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
it. Quickly, Hall of, Sports with Friends,
podcast?
Hall of Justice, very quickly.
A really great story for Sports with Friends comes out this afternoon. Mel Antonin, longtime USA Today baseball writer. He has battled health issues like you wouldn't believe, and he's still fighting them. He has a rare liver disease called HLH. He battled COVID. He almost died from COVID, and now he's battling HLH again. And he literally is strong enough to do this podcast, and then he went back to bed. He is a fascinating story, and he's a great writer, and he's a good friend. Mel Antonin on Sports with Friends. And for Hall of Justice, Eddie Pence, who is a comedian based in L.A., does one of the funniest podcasts I've ever heard. They're called The Ralph Report. And Eddie has a new special on iTunes, and he's been long wanting to be on the Hall of Justice, and we had him on. So Eddie Pence and Mel Antonin this week on the shows.
Thank you, Seth.
Thanks for having me.
12 minutes before the hour.
Safe travels.
Thank you. The good, the bad, and the ugly. To wrap up our radio version, the bonus Twitch hour coming up at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.